All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to welcome all of you. I'm Dixie Fullerton, and I am a co-chair for the Food and Vendor Committee, along with my partner here, Nancy Carroll. We've been working really, really hard, and I appreciate all of you coming tonight. I know that you have really busy schedules. We have been very, very busy, but we're going to need all of you to make this complete. I, for one, don't cook, so they wouldn't get much to eat but peanut butter sandwiches, so I do have to admit that. So again, I thank you so much for taking time to meet with us tonight. I will mention before I forget, please save all your questions till the four of us are done speaking. I told everybody we're not going to bore you, so we'll kind of go through things really fast. I would really very quickly, you know who I am, I would really quickly like to take just a few minutes here and ask that we'll start right here, and please introduce yourself very quickly. I don't need your life history, just a name and your business would be great.
Harry Nagel, I'm with Bethlehem Lutheran Church.
Adam Gold.
Shannon Gold.
And Chris Burke with the Corner Pizza and Ale House.
And that's a new business coming in, just so
Yep.
everybody knows.
Brian Meyer, Craft.
Tammy Severson, Kraft Heinz.
Guy Perkins, Lake Lemonade and Charcuterie.
Christina Perkins.
John Rodriguez, River City Morning Kiwanis Club.
Cassie Parker, Miracle Ear Foundation.
Holly Bowles, same.
Beth Baker, Black Dog Barbecue.
Jolene Jackson, Smokin' Manas.
Josh Schmidt with Birdsall's Ice Cream.
Monica Hahn with Mon Joe's.
Gary Ayers with Molly Jones.
Eric Fulmuth with Splash Multisport.
Joe Lowe with All About Cheesesteaks.
Joe Hansheim with her Freedom Administration Ministries. Nancy Joel, Freedom Administration Ministries. We're going to cupcakes and cookies.
Carrie Allen for St. John's Episcopal.
Okay, go ahead. Introduce yourself.
Good.
Amy Jones, Iowa State Extension.
Dan Reese with Sarasota County Public Health.
Nancy Carroll, co-chair of the Food and Vendors. I've talked to most of them.
Nancy really works hard. I've actually been doing nothing. That's what she's trying to say. She just knows better.
We have our different skill sets, okay?
I would thank you. We do. We blend very well because she's going to give you some things on how you're going to get here in the map in just a few minutes, and I'm not going to go over any of that because I don't do maps. I'm liable to get lost. So anyway, thank you again. We do really appreciate your time. So we have to remember here, we have to keep everything running smooth, and we have to keep all of our food safe because we're expecting between 15 and 20,000 riders. Not only the riders, Mason City community, any of you that maybe not quite be from Mason City, if there's food downtown, everybody comes down. They come out of their business and they like to eat. So keep in mind. So the other thing that I will mention, because I have had some things to do with RAGBRAI before, if you think you can serve 500, serve 500. If you think you can handle 1,000, do 1,000, but don't get greedy. We've seen it happen over the years, and an organization or a business will get greedy and think, oh, I can serve 10,000 of them. Well, you can't. So serve what you can. Serve what you can. The other thing that RAGBRAI recommends, and I actually recommend it too, is make sure that you're simplifying your menu so you can serve 500 people. And we tell our restaurants that too, you know, just have a certain amount of things. But all of you that have been vending, you know what you can do. Some of you, I'm looking around, some of you have been vending for a long time, so you know exactly. The other reminder that I'm going to give you on Daniel's behalf and for the county's behalf, I need to have your food license too. So if you need a temporary food license and you haven't gotten it, we have you on our radar. So we need you to get that done sooner than later. If you have an Iowa mobile food truck, then you're fine. So, the other thing I will remind you is you can use signs and say welcome riders, but you cannot put the word RAGBRAI on your sign. You can't use that word. That's RAGBRAI rules. However, we thought tonight we would have them, but they haven't come in yet. So after you get situated where your booth is, one of us, I think it's going to be Megan, she's on our team over here too, I think she's going to go around and give you all a RAGBRAI sign. And the 2 churches that are here in attendance, we will make sure that you get one too, even though you're not downtown. So I will make sure that you get one to post. We've had a few people ask, I want to know what my booth number is. We just got them decided. We are keeping it secret. So that was Nancy's idea, keep it secret. So when you will be shown how to come in, and when you get here, we will give you your number then. One of us will be standing there and tell you. Let's see, what else we got. Remember, this is the 100-mile ride. So we are probably not going to get a big amount of riders till mid-afternoon, but keep in mind that there'll be community people, there'll be support people around, so there will be people eating, just not that big rush. Because most of those riders, when they do get in, will eat between 4 and 8. Because the beer tent will be open then too, so that brings them downtown. Some of the foods, in case you're interested in what they like, lasagna, spaghetti, pizza, barbecue, chicken, tacos, baked potatoes, beef and noodles, and Mexican food. Campground vendors, they like football concessions, breakfast, fruit, excuse me, baked goods. And I think that's all I have. I'm going to turn this over to Nancy now.
Okay, on July 27th, all the vendors have to be setting up by 9 a.m. Okay, you can come into the downtown area 7 o'clock. We will tell you that it's on the map, but we'll go over it in just a minute here as where you should come in to. We want to try to keep it as organized as possible, if that is even possible. But due to the extra foot traffic, vehicles will not be let in to the downtown area after 9 a.m. Let's see, as soon as you set up, some of you have, there's at least one vendor that has asked if they could start selling as soon as they're set up. Yes, you can. You don't have to wait for the health inspection. If they don't like what you're doing, then they'll advise you on what to do, and hopefully they won't shut you down, right? If you're not planning to start selling until a little bit later, then you're welcome to get set up, leave the area for a couple hours, and come back. Because I know some of you aren't really doing a lot of food prep, and you may not want to hang around until people start coming. But I do suggest you put a sign up that you'll be back at a certain time. You have to be cleaned up and out of the downtown area by 12:30 a.m. So when it's later on at night, we'll play it by ear. If you're closing up, we'll get you out as soon as it's safe that we can get you out, and it may depend on where you're located too. We have this street right out here. We have 2 blocks worth of food vendors. If you're down at the far end and it's not very busy, we may have you, let you leave. And like I said, I can't guarantee exactly what time that will be. Last call at the beer tent is 10:30. The band stops at 11 p.m. We are still working on assigning the spots. Dixie already told you that. She she let the bag out of the box. Or the cat out of the bag, that's what it is. You said that we already have the spots labeled. Anyway, like she said, when you come into the downtown area, the person at the street barricade will tell you what your assignment number is and kind of give you basic directions. It's going to be just like straight and then one turn. East Park campground vendors need to plan for breakfast between 4:30 and 9. We have one vendor, the Lake Lemonade, they're going to be vending down there for breakfast. The River City Kiwanis is vending out of Borealis building on State Street. So be prepared for 4:30 to 9, or 4:30 to 9 a.m. is probably what we would recommend.
Okay.
Let's see, each vendor must bring a trash can for your area. There will be a large dumpster for your use, and we'll point that out when you come in, exactly where it is. I think there was people wanting to know where to get fresh water. We'll point that out too. Make sure you ask us, because I don't know where that is right now. And that trash can will help keep your area clean. And then once your area is clean when you leave, we will return the $100 deposit fee that you all paid, and that will get mailed out like within the next week. This is a very important part. No golf carts or ATVs are allowed in the downtown area. Dixie and I don't even get one. No volunteers get one. So you guys are not allowed to have one now. Anybody outside of Mason City, if you're planning on using one to shuttle outside of the downtown area, you better check with the police department, because I don't believe that they're legally on our street. There are some smaller towns that it's not a big deal, but here they may have something else to say. Potable water will be available to refill your hand wash station and ware washing station, but you must bring your own container to carry the water. No hoses will be hooked up to any units. Fairway is just 2 blocks north of our area, and they will have ice available for purchase. There are several banks and ATMs within walking distance, so you want to keep those in mind. I don't know if any of the banks are actually going to be open if you have to make change, because they're pretty much secured into our area. And we are providing the hand sanitizer for each vendor, as Dixie said. Megan will hand those out at the end of the night when you leave. And we are going to move to the map, if I can get this to come up. There we go. Okay, so if you look at the map, let's look at the general map. We have here on First Street, that's where we want you all to come in at between 7 and 9 a.m. right up here. This street here is Pennsylvania Avenue. And the vendors that are on the south end of this are going to exit out this way. The ones on the north end are going to exit out straight north. So all the food vendors are on Federal Avenue, centrally located. This picture of a speaker up there, I can't reach it, that is where the main stage is. So you can see everybody is really close to the central activity. We do have some non-food vendors that will be over here in the Wells Fargo parking lot. We have some retail vendors that will be along here. We have Bicycle Alley will be over here as well as a valet. And when you exit out here, this is State Street, your parking area, it's a whole parking lot we're going to have reserved for all the vendors. So you can park your support vehicles there. Okay? All right, Dan or Amy, who's first? So you can talk last. There you go.
All right, welcome everybody. So I'm just going to kind of go over the licensing part of this, and then Amy's going to take over for some of the food safety components of the talk. So anybody that needs a temporary food license, these are just a couple definitions what a temporary event is. So basically, you can vend for up to 14 days. Obviously, for this, it's just a one-day event, maybe 2 days if you're doing the morning thing the next day. So that's probably not that applicable. This is an event. I would call it an event. So we're good with that. So some people like to just set up in a parking lot just because that's not an event. They can't get a temporary food license. So there's kind of two options. There is an online option through the Department of Inspections and Appeals website, so you could go there. There's also forms on our website, cghealth.com, and those can be printed off and submitted directly to our office, either in person or by mail. Any questions? Questions gotta wait, I guess, sorry. Let's see, so this kind of talks about who needs a food license, all right? So there's really two categories in this slideshow, and there's for-profits and not-for-profits. So we'll try to hit on those, and I'll just go right through this. So when is a license not needed? So this is probably important for some of you. Basically, if you're going to sell pre-packaged, commercially packaged foods like bottled water, pop, Gatorade, candy bars, chips, that kind of stuff, you do not need a license. If you're going to sell uncut, whole, fresh fruits and vegetables, you do not need a license. So this would be a banana or apple. If you cut up the banana or apple, that changes things. Now you need a food license. So I don't think we need to go through the event registration. That's done by the RAGBRAI folks, so I think we're good there. License requirements for profit vendors. So if you're going to vend food, you do need a food license of some sort, unless it fits one of those categories we just talked about. And there's some options. We got the mobile food option, which I know some of you have that. And we also have, the brick and mortar stores and restaurants. So we'll talk a little more about that later. But essentially, if you have a restaurant and you're vending on your property, and I would say, Dixie or Nancy, correct me if I'm wrong, adjacent to your property. So I don't know how the property lines run along Federal here, but so if you're on your basically sidewalk right next to your building, we wouldn't issue a food license for that. So Dixie, Nancy, any comments about that? No? Okay. All right. For-profit vendors. What food can be served in a for-profit licensed temporary food stand? So basically, when you submit your temporary application, you list on there what types of food you're going to serve, and it's an application that you'll have to kind of describe, where you get that food from and those sorts of things. So then we review that. See if there's anything out of order or seems like anything weird or anything like that. If there is, we'll be in contact with you about that. So no license is needed for nonprofit organizations. So I know there's a few churches here. So if you're a nonprofit organization and you're on your own property, so let's say a church, and you're selling food on your church property, you do not need a license. Okay? Now, if you're a nonprofit and you have a booth downtown, you do need a license. So, you know, there's weird things in our rules, but we try to deal with it. So selling for nonprofits, you know, pretty much the same rules apply for profit or nonprofit when it comes to types of foods that are exempt. Talked earlier about the packaged foods, you know, bottled water and so forth. The one kind of different thing for nonprofits is they can bring in things like brownies or cookies that are in a package that they do make at home or their church or wherever they make them. So that is something that's a little bit different for nonprofits that we do allow. So, you know, I had a few questions about that earlier. When does a nonprofit vendor need a temporary food license? I think sort of the opposite of when they don't, but, you know, obviously if they're doing burgers, hot dogs, you know, any sort of prepared types of food. And then also packaged food if it's what we call a TCS or a perishable food like milk or ice cream, anything like that. And then kind of hit on earlier, but if you start cutting up the fruits and vegetables, license is needed. What food can be served in a nonprofit vendor's licensed food stand? So, again, kind of like we talked about earlier, same sort of things. You know, keep in mind, like pies. So if you have a booth downtown, you're going to sell cream pies or whatever. Those do need to come from an approved source. Approved source would be like a grocery store or another food distributor. Nonprofit vendor examples. So when is a license required? We kind of hit on that. And when is it not? Again, when it's not is when you're on your own property. So a church on their own property, for example, could do that without any license. You may be in that example, I think. We'll still obviously encourage good food safety practices, but we won't issue a license. We probably won't stop by. Amy will kind of talk about some food safety things regardless of whether you're licensed or not. So we'll hit on that as well. Let's see. So there's obviously several different license types we kind of hit on. So you got the temporary, and that's, you know, that's if you don't have another sort of license and you're selling food, that's probably what you're going to need for this event. If you have a mobile food unit, I know we've got a few of them around here tonight, you're probably not going to need any sort of license other than your mobile food license that you already have. And so you should be good there. Obviously, you want to follow all the mobile food rules, which includes you know, limited days. Again, this is only a one-day event, at least in Mason City. If you're following the route, you know, come see me. That could get a little bit different. But if you're just, you know, setting up in Mason City, then the mobile should be fine. Again, the brick and mortar stores and restaurants and bars, basically, if you're doing things within the scope of your normal business, and you're on your own property, you know, no additional license will be needed. You know, we got a few out there as well. Town's responsibility, they'll handle that as far as the license goes, and then, you know, yeah, I think that's all I wanted to get on there. Yeah, we don't need to worry about event registration license. Temporary food license, so the temporary food license is a $50 fee for that. And so if you don't have that in yet, we do recommend doing that at least 30 days prior to the event. So June 27th-ish would be great. gives us a little bit of time to deal with processing those, looking those over and so forth. I know we've got at least the one annual temporary, I think, in the back. So this is a license you can get if you're going to do multiple events within the same county. And you're still a temporary, but you can do multiple temporary events. So for most of you, I don't think this will apply. I mean, I think most of you are here because of RAGBRAI. So probably not that applicable for most of you, but if that's something you're interested, let me know and we can work through that. Kind of already hit on mobiles, so I don't think I need to talk any more about that. And then again, the food service or retail licenses, I know we've got a few guys in here. Again, if you're just kind of doing your normal thing, you don't need an additional food license through our office unless you were going to set up a booth, in the vendor area. And I don't think there is any of you doing that, as far as I can remember. Again, we would kind of consider your property. Of course, if you have like a parking lot or something like that, I know Bertzel's might have something. If you guys wanted something outside your parking lot, you could do that without any sort of additional licensing. Obviously, just make sure it's safe for travel and whatnot. But and then if you are going to do anything like outside of your wall, just make sure you also have whatever food safety things that you would need. So if you got open food out there, you're probably going to need a hand washing station. You might need some gloves, that kind of thing. Temperature control, all that. Amy will talk more about that. Don't think. Are you going to go over this part? Services. Okay.
Just, you do that first and then I'll.
Okay. Fair enough. So electricity, obviously if you got refrigeration or hot holding, anything like that, we're going to need some power. And so, I think the RAGBRAI folks are kind of handling that part of it. Toilets will be handled by the RAGBRAI folks as well. If you've got a temporary food stand, you do need some means of hand washing. If you've got open food. So if you just have, bottled pop and water and that kind of thing, no hand washing needed. But once you have open food, then you need means of washing your hands and probably some gloves. Water supply. So I think most of you will be getting your water from either come in your mobile unit if you got a mobile unit, or if you're a temporary, you'll want to get that water probably from the city, unless you've had your water tested and you live in the country. Otherwise, we want to make sure that's a safe water source to be using for food preparation, hand washing, etc. There are food grade hoses. Most of the mobile food people know about those, but doesn't sound like we're going to be conveying water in hoses anyway. So, all right, ice. So this comes up quite a bit. How can we keep our stuff cold and keep it safe? So what we don't really want is stuff floating in ice water. So if you got a means of draining that melted water or melted ice away from your beverage containers and that kind of thing, that's much better. Also, try to use, if you're going to use it as a cooling agent to cool stuff, you don't also want to use it as a ingredient in a beverage, for example. Hopefully that makes sense. So you don't want to scoop it out of your tank that you got a bunch of water bottles and put that in your drink for pop. Seems obvious, but seen crazier things than that, trust me. So anyways, this stuff, I don't know how relevant any of this is to you guys, but I think the RAGBRAI folks are taking care of the alcohol part of it, so that's probably not an issue. The social gambling, not sure why that's even up here. Sales tax, you're probably all going to need sales tax. These aren't my slides. Sales tax, you're probably all going to need sales tax permits. So. These are just some of the contacts for the RAGBRAI route. Here locally, you can contact me if you have any questions. There's my, it's not really my phone number, that's my administrative assistant's phone number, but it would eventually get to me. But I do have cards somewhere, and my right phone number is on there. But anyway, I think that pretty much covers my portion of it. All right, so I guess questions are at the end.
Hi, I'm Amy Jones, and I'm going to talk about food safety. I know many of you are ServSafe certified, and so I want you to please remember all your food safety rules during RAGBRAI. So some of our big things is that no bare hand contact with any food, okay? So you need to have gloves or tongs or spoons or scoops, something in between there. Also, I'm sorry, that's my ringtone, and I was like, I'm afraid that it's not. The correct sanitizer, you need a hand washing station also, and then you need sanitizer. All your sanitizers need test kits to make sure that you are making your sanitizer correctly. And then you need to also make sure that you, if you're using a bottle, that you label your sanitizer. You can find ready-to-use sanitizer at Martin Brothers. But that is something, then you don't have to worry about mixing it also. So other things, big things, hot food's hot and cold food's cold. Okay, you want to make sure that you have enough ice to keep your foods cold, 41 degrees or below, or your hot foods at 135 or higher. You also want to make sure that you cook all your foods to the proper temperature if you're cooking food downtown. So if you need reminders of proper food temperatures, you can download the RAGBRAI food service and license guide. And in the back of this, there is your food temperatures, which is poultry is 165, ground meats are 155, pork or fish is 145, beef 145, reheating is 165, and then hot holding is 135 or higher, and cold is 41 or lower. Now, to help you with that, you need thermometers. You are required to have a thin tip thermometer. Does everybody know what a thin tip thermometer looks like? I have some examples up here and we can pass them around. But you are required to have a thin tip and they are readily available. A note about gloves, they need to be the right size. Also, you need to wash your hands before you put on gloves, and you have to wash your hands. Hand sanitizer is not, you can't use that for food service. Okay, you have to wash your hands before you put on gloves. If you need to wash dishes, then you need a 3-compartment sink. In this case, you will have 3-compartment, probably buckets. And so then you have detergent and rinse, and then you would have sanitizer water, which then you would use your sanitizer test kit to make sure that the sanitizer is the proper amount of sanitizer. And then you let your utensils, your dishes, whatever, air dry, okay? In your food stand, There are no towels to be used. When you wash your hands, you use paper towels and throw them away. When you do dishes, you let them air dry. Using cloth towels can recontaminate things, and that's not what we want, and it grows bacteria. Once again, if you need help with like setting up a wear wash station, in the handout there is a picture of that as well. Please ask all of your people when they come to work if they are perfectly healthy. We don't want anybody who has any sort of illness to be working in and around food, okay? You also should have everybody sign in and sign out so that you know who's there and what time they were there as well, so that you have a record of that in case something happens and then we need to come back and take a look at that. Also with the hand washing, you need a minimum of 2 gallons per person of potable water to be maintained in a container. So you, depending on how many people you have, are going to need a lot of water. So just make sure that you think about that, make sure you have big enough containers and maybe somebody who can run to the water station. So please keep our people coming to visit us safe, keep your food safe. You want to make sure that you follow food safety guidelines. If you have questions about that, or if you want to contact me if I'm at Iowa State, I also brought cards if you need more information about that.
All right, that kind of concludes the information that we wanted to share, but we certainly would take some questions from any of us. And I always tell everybody if we don't have the right answer, we usually just make it up, so feel free. So
Obviously, we're selling items, so we'll have cash there and to be able to do cash returns to people, right? So that's a little...
So the question is about cash.
Yeah, so I mean, people are going to pay us for the item, and then we'll give them, change and stuff like that. We're a nonprofit, so I was kind of concerned about the sales tax.
You're talking about washing, or the sales, you asking about washing your hands, or you asking about the
No,
sales
about the
tax?
sales tax.
Sales tax.
Well, maybe both too, I suppose, if we're taking money, but ours are pre-tax.
Yeah, well, Daniel, he'll just eat a cookie when he walks by, he
Sounds
won't pay
good.
attention to you.
Got a bunch of them.
So you're nonprofit?
Yes.
I've got 3 or 4 of you in here that are nonprofit. No, we don't need that, your
Okay.
sales tax for
Great.
that.
Thanks.
Dixie, for mobile trailers or food trucks, we're, only allowed to sell off of our truck, but can we have like a server or a person who's taking orders out front with maybe a table that, just to keep them separate from the actual guests, and then they're the only ones pulling it out of the window? Or does the person you sell it to have to be the one pulling it out of the window?
Daniel, I'm going to repeat the question. We're videotaping this for some people out of town that weren't able to come. The question that Joanne is asking is, can someone, a person with her, go outside of her trailer and stand and take orders and try to keep things going along? I personally don't see anything wrong with it. You're not out there making the food in the middle of nowhere, you're just taking orders. Daniel, do you agree with that? Daniel agrees with that. Good question, though. I've seen this done at bigger events. So it certainly could help your traffic.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you mentioned at the beginning setup was at 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. However, since we're in the Borealis building, kind of to the east there, is that still apply there? Because we're not expected to do that.
You can, You can actually, I can repeat that question, but they're asking if they're off-site. We have no control. The health department, sorry, wait a minute. The health, no, we can't do whatever we want, but the health department will take care of that part. But there again, you're down there, you can do what you want. We were just, our people here have to be here. It's like the churches, I know the church back here, it's like my churches. I think they put in that they're gonna start serving at 4 to 8 or whatever they might do, that's their business. That's fine. Unless I want some pecan pie a little earlier, then they would have to serve that up, of course. But a really good question. But it's kind of like the restaurants down here. They can do what they want.
Yeah, I'm not a morning person, that's why I asked.
Then how are you going to serve breakfast at 4:30?
Somebody else is gonna do that. Not me.
You're a morning person.
Any other questions that we can help with? Any questions for these guys? They need questions. You think of-
We were just good.
We explained ourselves.
I don't think that these questions are relating to me. I think the only thing I missed on my list and is keeping the booth numbers secret. But when you come, someone will have to open one of the barricades to let you in, and one of the 3 of us, or someone, I don't know who else.
First Street Northeast.
First Street Northeast. When you do come, you will be told your booth number, and the night before, we're gonna be out. When I say we, I'm not coming, but they're gonna be out chalking, and so your number will be in the middle of where you need to park, and we will need your trailers backed up right to this, not on the sidewalk, but right to it, so we can keep a nice open space for 15,000 people to run up and down. But secrets are secrets, and I'm not getting that out.
Can the church volunteers use that vendor parking? That's going to be across the street from our church?
No.
Pardon me?
The question,
The volunteers that are going to be at St. John's helping, can they use that vendor parking?
that parking is just going to be for the booths downtown and the volunteers that are helping there.
It's for their support vehicles and everything, and we have 32 odd vendors, and there's going to be plenty of vehicles there, and I don't think there's going to be room. Plus, the volunteers helping downtown.
Okay. Is there going to be any parking lots available for that purpose? I mean, I suppose we could ask.
Each off-premise, I'm guessing each off-premise is responsible for figuring out where they can park.
Terry, do you have,
Sorry.
doesn't your church have its own parking lot?
Just across the street.
Oh.
That's not our part, it's a city parking lot.
Well, all the riders are coming down my street, so I might not even get here. Talking about getting up early. Okay, and then to make sure you get your deposit back, we have another person on the committee that's not here behind the scenes, and she volunteered her and I to stay up until midnight when you leave, because somebody could trash it and you might not know, and I want to make sure everybody gets their money back. No one should have friends like that. Got about a month to tell her to take a hike. So it's going to be a really, really long day. But that's okay. We've been working hard. Like I said, we could not do this without all of you helping us. We're trying to keep it all in order the best that we can. And I want to thank Emily back there. She's kind of hiding back by the video for setting this up and videotaping it. And she's been one of our main ones that we've been working with, and we really do appreciate it.
That sounds like a
perfect way to end the recording.
So if there's, if